I've heard you say that clutter can actually be a sign of trauma.
I think it is, yeah.
What's the connection there?
Well, when you're dysregulated, your perception of space is not very good. Your awareness of like what's in the room, what time of day is it? When you're in a good mental condition, you can sort of go, all right, I've let the laundry go long enough. I got to stop everything and do the laundry. When you're dysregulated, you don't necessarily get that clue. And plus, you're very tired all the time. And you're overwhelmed with merely having thoughts and feelings. So actually having to do tasks can feel more overwhelming. So it just piles up. But I used to notice I would drive around, you drive around in neighborhoods, and some neighborhoods, there's house, and then there's house where the yard is just full of crap. That was the house I grew up in, literally cars in the yard. My parents they were extremely educated, but cars in the yard, and dead plants and, toys and boxes and stuff all over the porch. Really messy, really embarrassing. And so I thought, when I was a kid, I thought, why are my parents so messy? So this often goes with drugs and alcohol. When you look at homeless encampments, some of them have this huge accumulation of trash. And it's some sort of, I think a lot of people magicalize it or try to excuse it, but it's like, it's drugs. Drugs are shutting off some sort of natural cue and urge and need to have order around you. I think visual order is so lovely. I'm not particularly orderly, but I love being in an orderly space. It like calms me. It feels good to be. I don't things like my husband puts his shoes in the walkway from the door to the bed, and I'm just like, like I could trip on that in the middle of the night. And some people, he's just never fazed by something like that. And he's, me on the other hand, if I find an old piece of bacon in the silverware drawer, I don't like it. But it doesn't faze him or my son. So,
wow.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that's just life. But
what if someone's just saving bacon for later?
I don't think they are. I think it's like very old. There's so many weird things. Or the choices he makes about what drawer will he put something important in. It could be any drawer. And they're all full of stuff. So he just doesn't have like a psychological need for order the way I do. But I make it sound like I'm a neat freak. I'm not. I just want to be able to get a can opener without a 10-minute quest for it, because honestly, if I get frustrated about finding a can opener, it'll cost me. I feel like I sort of have a reserve of self-regulation. And the more I waste frustration on stuff like finding an object that could be in the same drawer, the more I'm sort of close to getting dysregulated over something else. When I make videos and then I also have meetings and talk to people or do a podcast or something, I can't do them on the same day. It's like two different parts of my brain. Do you have that?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the creative and the operational for me.
Yeah. And having conversations, it just taps me out after a while. I'm fairly extroverted, but if I have conversations, I can't write a script. So I just know these things about myself now. And I'm extremely productive in the end. So it works for me. But these are some things I've learned by understanding, I'm dysregulated. And if I'm dysregulated, there's no point in pushing through. Like just everything, I have to get dysregulated first. Nothing good comes from pushing through.
How do you prevent productivity from becoming an addiction in and of itself?
I really had that. That was my thing. Overfunctioning was my go-to. And in my early 20s, and I felt awful all the time. I just felt really lousy physically. I feel like 20 years younger now in my 60s than I did in my 20s. How do you? I don't know. I guess it gets painful enough that you have to do it another way. But I'm also somebody, I think my family would say, they all feel that I'm a little too, I work too much. Okay, I'll say it, workaholic. Amanda. Yeah, I'm a bit of a workaholic. So I don't know. To me, it just feels like you got to do this stuff, or it's all going to fall apart.
Well, I think to love what you do is one thing, and then for it to be an addiction is something else. Like, is it negatively impacting your life?
Yeah.
If it's not, then
I had a bunch of stressors happen last fall. It's been about a year. And I totally lost my productivity. I went into a brain fog. I gained 30 pounds. I couldn't come up with an idea to save my life. I just went down. And I've never exactly had that happen. It was a lot of stuff. from different angles, and all of them kind of feeling like threatening to my livelihood, to my legitimacy, to my future, like all of it. It was really threatening. So I don't blame myself for feeling down about it. And most of those things have not resolved. It's just that, I just grew through it. I was just like, okay, everything's uncertain, threats exist. It's going to be okay. And that I would just persevere. And so what I love about these techniques is they allow me to just they just help me keep finding the way forward and the way forward. The worst thing I think about some aspects of our culture, of how we sort of like, I don't know, cherish our troubles a little bit, maybe, always almost like it's a badge of honor. I try not to do that. I would never wish trauma on anybody. I don't wish it on myself. I'm really glad I've been able to make something of it, but it's so important. It's so important to really just kind of hitch your mental wagon more to what you're trying, what your values are, what you hope to be, and try to just work on eliminating the behaviors driven by your old identity of somebody who's just like ruined and comes from the wrong side of the tracks and can't be blamed. And I just had a lot of that. And
you got social brownie points, I think, especially these days in this country for projecting the perception of oppression.
Oh yeah. And I remember sort of playing the card before when my first marriage broke up when my kids were little, and I was like always playing the single mom card. I'm a single mom. I'm so bedraggled. I can't be expected to bring anything to the potluck. I could have brought something to the potluck, but it just sort of became this thing, and I figured it out. And then there was a medical accident that caused me to be in and out of the hospital for 4 years, a surgical mistake on me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it was very bad, and I had to go 44 times to the emergency room, and I could have sued, but I realized that if I engaged in a lawsuit, I would never get well. And I was left with this condition that I have since healed, that it wasn't expected to heal. But it healed when I just returned to my good old techniques. And I really just committed myself. It's like, I don't really care what happened. I just want to be better. I didn't want to be bogged down I know people who have gotten into like medical lawsuits or car crash lawsuits where if you get better, you could lose your case, and you end up with this like internal incentive to keep identifying with the hurt version of you. And I just thought that's probably what I would do, and I just can't take that risk. I told you about the crisis point when I was 30. Later, when I had my little kids, I first tried dating, and the guy that I started dating, 3 months into it, he's like, I have to confess something. I've been smoking heroin every day since you've known me. And I was just like, what?
Whoa.
What? And I can tell you now, there were red flags, but I didn't see them. And he was so nice, and he was helping me, and there were many complications about the whole thing. It was heartbreaking. It was terrible, and he did not survive his disease, and it was a catastrophe for my kids. But when I found that out, it was just like a really messy, high drama thing. I wanted to get out, and I couldn't really do it, and he kept making promises, and I'd spy on him to see if he went to meetings. The whole crazy thing, and when that happened, I knew like I have to stop everything. I have to go the next level now. And never bring this kind of trouble into the lives of my kids again. Yeah, they were just kids, and their mom was so upset.
That sounds so difficult.
Yeah. So I did it again, and I had a 2-year monastic period. And during that time is when I realized I don't really have good friends. I had a lot of friends, but none of them the kind who come and bring you a meal when you've had surgery, or the kind who come and have a memorial with you when your boyfriend has died. I didn't have that kind. And at work, they were supportive, but I just realized like my whole life is unstable because I don't have those kinds of relationships. So that's why I wanted to, after my first book, I wanted to dive in and say, okay, but the real, the heart of having a good life is to be able to connect with people for real.
Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.